What's going on, YouTube family? I got a very important message for you guys today. If you drive Uber, Lyft, do any type of food delivery, Postmates, Amazon, whatever the case may be, you need to watch this video because there's a lot of information that you need to know about. So I was at the auction last week and I was checking out a lot of the repos, and they had a whole row of repos with nothing but Uber and Lyft stickers in the windshields. So as I was walking through checking out the cars, I ended up bumping into the bank rep, and I asked him, "Are these your cars?" He said yes. And so we started going over some of the cars and the prices. And then I asked him, "Are all these, repos?" And he says, yes, some of them are repos because they defaulted on payments, but more than half of these cars are taken because they were using them for commercial use. Now, I made a video about this probably about almost 2 years ago today, talking about how the market is changing and how Uber and Lyft are absolutely destroying cars and causing banks to lose millions of dollars. Well, fast forward to today, and those changes have been made, and we're starting to see the ramifications on the market. Now, when I first opened up my dealership, I had banks that were giving away cars and loans to people that were driving Uber, Lyft, Postmates, Amazon delivery, whatever the case may be, because they're using it to make extra money, and they thought that they'd basically take over that market. But what they found out was a lot of the drivers tended to not take care of the cars, rack up a bunch of miles, and not pay down to depreciation or put more money down. They basically just beat up the cars and left them be. Now, after years of this happening, of banks losing millions of dollars, they decided to go ahead and change the rules. And this is what we talked about 2 years ago, and I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know today. If you are using your traditional vehicle, which you went out and got a loan in your personal name for commercial use, depending on the bank, they have the rights to basically repo the cars from you because it's not using for its intended purpose. So a lot of leases are like this as well. BMW Financial, if you're doing Uber, Lyft, Turo, something like that, they will take the car right from you. I've seen it happen. I've had people call me, say this is illegal, I'm current on my payments. But if you've broken that agreement, you basically get to forfeit your car. Now, a lot of people that have been purchasing cars for the last few years, I've been saying it over and over again, you need to read your contract to see if there's any type of rideshare or any type of delivery apps noted in the actual writing of the contract, which I'm sure none of you guys read, because I know, the economy's slow and there's a lot of people out there that are looking to try to make some extra money because, it's rough out there. Costs have gone through the roof. Inflation's basically taken on everything. Gas is double, rent's double, your car insurance is double. Everything is pretty much double except your paycheck. So I'm sure most of you guys after hearing this are like, oh, banks are jerks, they're greedy, they just want to take your money and rip people off. They should just let people do what they want. Well, the reason is banks have really strict underwriting for a reason, and everything is due to risk. Now, this is very important. When they give you a loan for a vehicle, as a person, they're looking at you, the individual. They're looking at your personal credit. They're looking at your job, and they already have the data on you. If they look in your area and say, okay, this guy is a plumber, he drives X amount of miles per year, this is his rating, we're going to give him this car at 72 months at 6% interest because this is what the risk requires. Now, if you start to skew this, hey, this guy is not using this for personal use, he's using this for delivery. Oh, well, guess what? Now it requires a bigger down payment. It requires higher interest, so that 6% is gone. Now it's closer to 10 to 15%. And then on top of that, it goes from 72 months to probably 48 months. Now, I'm sure you guys are wondering, well, why would they change all these things? It's to offset the risk. So as a rental car company, every time I purchased a new vehicle to rent out, I got a commercial loan. So that meant I was paying 10% interest instead of, 6%. I was paying 48 months because they wanted to make sure that I was using this car to make money, that I would pay bigger payments to pay down the depreciation because they know that if I'm using it for commercial use, I'm going to be racking up miles. It's going to be doing all this crazy stuff. So they want to offset their risk by doing this. This is why when you go get a commercial auto loan, a lot of times the furthest they will go is 60 months, and it will be a higher interest rate because it's more of a risk because it's commercial. You're using it for business. This is how, we make jokes about all these rental car companies being fake because they don't have any of this stuff. They don't know how it works. Everybody's always trying to get the lowest payment possible. And that's what happened with Uber, Lyft drivers, and everything else. They're buying these cars, especially during the pandemic, with, no money down, cars probably $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 over MSRP. They basically did a forbearance program, didn't make any payments for the first 2 years. And fast forward 2 years later, now these cars got 100,000 miles on them and they owe, $40,000, $50,000 and the car's worth 20 grand. What are people going to do? guess what? They're dumping them at the auction. They're telling the banks, I don't want this. This car's got too many miles. It's beat up. It's falling apart. It's costing me money. Here you go. And too many people are doing that at once, and banks are losing millions of dollars every single quarter. So this is why a lot of banks instituted these rules a few years ago, stating that if you do any type of rideshare, delivery, anything like that, the car that's being used for commercial use, they have the right to basically take the car back if you lied to them. And some of them, and depending on what state you're in, they can actually change your interest and your payments on your car. Now, this has been a hot topic for years, and I know people have always been going back and forth, should I do the right thing and tell my insurance company? Should I do the right thing and tell the bank? I know you guys don't want to hear this. I would tell my bank and I would tell my insurance, because I'm sure some of you guys don't even have the right insurance. Because if you crash and you're doing Uber and somebody in the back seat, is not covered, they're going to try to sue you, sue Uber, and it's just a big headache. And if insurance doesn't know you're doing that, they may drop you or sue you themselves. So you got to be very careful with this stuff. Now, unfortunately, as I was talking to the banker there at the auction, he was telling me that they have a whole campaign now of going after people that are doing rideshare and stuff like that, because back in the day, the banks didn't want the cars back, because if that meant if I had to take this Lamborghini back and you owed 100 grand on it, but today it's only worth 50, that means that I'm losing $50,000 of money when I sell it at the auction and it's gone. So I'd rather have the customer keep it, hopefully make some payments, and I can recoup some of that money. But now that the market is so basically backwards now, they're losing money no matter what they do, so they'd rather get the cars back. So they're actually scaling up this effort to go get more of their vehicles. They were telling me that they have over 10,000 vehicles that are being used currently right now for Uber, Postmates, or some sort of delivery. And so if the banks know it, I'm telling you, they're gonna find out. So if you're doing any type of rideshare and you haven't discussed it with your bank, you probably should call them and figure that out. Now, if for some reason your bank doesn't allow this, what you can do is you can go to other financial institutions, local state banks, credit unions, wherever you can, and tell them, hey, look, I'm using this card for commercial purposes. I'd like to refinance this out of my personal name. Maybe get an LLC, or if you want to create a sole proprietor, put that in there. So this way, maybe you can start building business credit along with protecting yourself. So this way, the bank's not going to take your car because you're doing a commercial loan. They know exactly what you're using the vehicle for. Now, here's something to think about. If you're doing rideshare and you're current on all your payments and they take your car and they repo it and they turn it on and sell it, you are still obligated to pay whatever the difference is. So if you owe $30,000, they take it to the auction and it sells for 10 grand, you owe the $20,000 difference. And if you don't pay it, guess what happens to your credit? They're going to whack your credit. So now you're going to be making two payments, one payment on your new car and a payment on your old car, or just filing bankruptcy and ruining your credit, or trying to work out something with the debtor. So unfortunately, it's only going to get worse. As the months progress, people are going to get more delinquent, more Americans are going to fall behind, and it's going to put pressure on the banks to basically raise up or lift up their collection efforts. They're going to do whatever they can to get their vehicles. And I believe that they're not going to stop at just rideshare. They're going to go after people that doesn't have insurance. I've already seen that happen. If you think you're slick and you're not paying your car insurance, they may charge you an extra fee on your loan. If they're not doing that, in some states, they have the right to protect their collateral. They can come and take the car from you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, I want to let you guys know that unfortunately, this is just the way the market's going. If you are doing rideshare or some sort of delivery app, please be careful. Reach out to your bank, or maybe buy a cheaper, affordable car that you can just pay cash for, so you don't have to basically burn up your personal car. I know this sucks because there's a lot of people I've seen that now that Turo, the market's dead, they're basically giving these out to other people, trying to run them out and do this stuff. Don't be surprised that if you wake up tomorrow, your car's gone, because they're hip to this stuff. They know exactly what's going on. They know people are out there doing Turo, ride shares, whatever else, trying to make whatever money they can. But at the end of the day, if it's not in your contract, don't do it. So let me know your opinion on what the banks are doing. Do you think it's right that they're going after people and taking their cars because they're using them for commercial use? Or do you believe they should offer some sort of payment restructure or something else like that? Would you be open to that? But anyways, I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next video.